Ambassador Bob Rae, thank you for joining me on UpFront.
Great pleasure to be with you. Thank you for asking me to join you.
So let's start here. In December, President Donald Trump mocked former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and referred to him as the governor of the 51st state of the United States. And he's been very public about his desire to annex Canada. You've stated that Trump's comments are a direct attack on Canada's sovereignty and the relationship between the two countries. I mean, is Canada making any preparations in case the U.S. does indeed try to annex Canada?
We have some comments that have been made by the President of the United States about Canada's sovereignty and about borders and boundaries and about 51st states and so on. Our governments have made it very clear that we're prepared for any eventuality, but I have no authority to rattle any sabers. I have no intention of doing so. So let's take it a step at a time. We'll see what next steps are in terms of our discussions with the United States and others.
But these discussions will be taking place in the context of further pressure on Canada. Donald Trump has placed a 25% tariff on imports coming from Canada. And you, in fact, explained that the tariffs are intended to weaken the Canadian economy so that the U.S. takeover can take place. You used very strong words and you described this as, quote, theft by force. How deeply will these tariffs affect Canadians? I mean, is it even conceivable that a weakened economy may actually encourage some Canadians to warm up to the idea of becoming the 51st state of the United States? So when there's economic vulnerability, could that open the door for that?
Well, I mean, I've been around in political life and diplomatic life for a long time, so I think I'm wise enough to know that things need to be put into a clear perspective. We take our sovereignty seriously in Canada. We also take our economic relationship with other countries seriously, and I think in all circumstances, panic is never the answer. The answer is to take deliberate steps, which we will take in cooperation with others, to try to create some degree of stability in a world where instability is being created. And we have to do whatever we can to take away that level of instability, which is affecting Canada, but it's also affecting every other country in the world with very few exceptions. And so we need to work together with other countries from all over the world. And I've had many discussions with ambassadors here and with others who are facing similar situations. And we're going to continue to have these discussions in a spirit in which we unite in our common objective, which is to create stability where instability is being created. And that's something we're all committed to doing.
Donald Trump has already said that he wants to revisit the Great Lakes agreements, which govern how the U.S. and Canada share these waters. These waters are a vital source for so many millions, drinking water for so many millions. So is this less about taking over all of Canada and more about gaining control of natural resources?
The natural resources of Canada belong to Canada, and the natural resources of the United States belong to the United States. And that's an arrangement that will not change as a result of any future discussions. I think we have to be very clear here that the sovereignty of our country is a critical baseline value that is shared by all Canadians. And those are bedrock values and bedrock interests that Canada has that will be maintained by the democratically elected government of Canada.
Mm-hmm. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney recently stated that Canada will have to dramatically reduce its reliance on the United States and pivot trade relations elsewhere. Will Canada then now forge alliances with trading partners, including the United States' arch-rival, China?
Well, let's be clear. I mean, Canada is a trading nation. We already have free trade relationships we've signed a free trade agreement with Europe. We're members of the Pacific Partnership. We're members of partnerships with other governments. We're creating a new new economic and social relationship with Africa. Our foreign policy and our trading policy is very outward looking. It always has been and always will be. And so what the Prime Minister described is the reality of the situation, and that is that the United States has announced a number of changes. It's not Canada that's announced a series of changes. It's the United States that's indicated that it has a very different value proposition, has a very different approach to trade, has a very different approach with its discussions with everyone else. So, of course, we're talking with everyone, and that means everyone about what the future holds for all of us. And I think it's as I said, our responsibility now is to create stability where instability has been created. We want to avoid an economic war of all against all, and we want to create a climate in which prosperity can grow, in which trading relationships can grow, and in which political relationships can grow.
And speaking of partnerships around the world, Trump has been very openly critical of the United Nations, describing it as ineffective. He's followed through pulling out funding from several UN programs and agencies. Does this shift in US policy when it comes to the UN influence Canada's UN strategy and other foreign policy issues like the genocide in Gaza or the war in Ukraine?
Well, the short answer is, yes and no, frankly. I mean, when you look at what the United States has done with respect to foreign assistance, and particularly with respect to assistance to UN programs, the World Food Program, the World Health Organization, the UN High Commission on Refugees, you go down the list, it's a long list of programs that are dramatically impacted by the cuts that the United States has announced. These cuts are huge, and the impact on the global assistance programs for those who are in greatest need all around the world, those cuts are dramatic. Again, I think Canada's policies have been very, very clear. Our support for the United Nations, our support for international law. We've made it very clear our position on Gaza, which is frankly not been the same as that of the United States in the series of votes at the United Nations, and those policies will continue to be expressed by our government in response to some very very difficult humanitarian situations. The situation in Gaza, the situation in Sudan, the situation in a number of countries, which has been dramatically impacted and affected by the decisions of the United States, and that's a reality. But we are dealing with it in a clear and very very forceful way. But we're also doing it in a way that indicates that we're not the ones who've changed here. We are consistent in our approach to global issues based on the fundamental principles of the Charter of the UN, which we see as being entirely in keeping with Canada's national interests. The need for us to have strong policies on peace and security, on development, and on human rights. And I'm the president of the Economic and Social Council of the UN, so I will be continuing to have a serious discussion with people about what we need to do together. And we talk about this on a very regular basis in the Economic and Social Council and in the other work that we do here.
Ambassador Bob Rae, thank you very much for joining us on UpFront.
Thank you very much for asking me to join you. It's been a great privilege to be part of this conversation. Thank you so much.